Got a black magic woman. Got a black magic woman. I've got a black magic woman. Got me so.
Hey guys, it's Charlie, and I'm your Wednesday vlogger on Our Pagan Opinions. This week we are talking about interreligious relationships. So I was really excited about this topic because I am part of an interreligious relationship. We actually have a daughter together, so questions arise as to how are we going to raise our daughter, things like that. My path, obviously, is eclectic pagan, and my partner's path is he was raised Catholic, though he says he wasn't raised Catholic. He went to a Catholic school until he was in like 8th grade or 7th grade or something, and then he went to public school. His family's very active in the church. His dad actually is, I don't know what his dad really is, but his dad's really into like Eastern philosophy from what I've like, we've never sat down and had a spiritual discussion, but like he gave me a book on I Ching, and he also gave me a book on Taoism, and he was into Tai Chi for a while when he was younger, and from what I've known of Nathan's father, his dad was a hippie. Hey Nathan! Was your dad a hippie? Was your dad a hippie? What? He says yes, he was. So Nathan's dad was a hippie. It wasn't until our daughter was born that I started exploring my spiritual side again and got reconnected with my previous path and expanded upon it. We decided when Nozomi was born that we would not have her baptized, and the reason we did not have her baptized is because both of us agreed that that should be done when the child is old enough to decide for themselves if they want to be baptized, and when she's old enough to decide for herself which spiritual path she would like to follow. Now, I've done a topic similar to this on my personal channel. Since then, things have changed a little bit. I started attending a class at the Unitarian Universalist Church. My spirituality very much is a big portion of my life. It pretty much is in every single facet of what I do. Me is very fulfilled. The spiritual part is very fulfilled. I was feeling very much a lack of community. Anyone who follows me on my personal channel, you know that maybe 6 months ago I really started feeling called to doing like charity work and volunteer work and humanitarian work, and just this intense pull to get back to people and my relationships with people, my relationship with the earth, and my experience with everything as one. I was very called because I don't want to go back to a Christian church. Specifically because every time I've been to a Christian church, I walk in and I feel extremely judged and extremely... Someone in my UU class said it perfectly. He said when he goes to a Christian church, he feels like everyone else has gotten on this bus together and they're on this journey, and he's kind of left there to have a journey on his own, and he's not part of that bus ride. And I thought that was a very good way of putting it. Every time I've been to a Christian church, I feel very misplaced, very left out, very much not having the same experiences as those around me, and feeling what types of experiences I should be having based on what everyone else is having. When I found out about the UU Church, I was really excited because I wanted us to start going as a family. They have an amazing curriculum for kids. There's this whole curriculum that from age 3 all the way through high school, there's this curriculum to basically give that spiritual base to your child, and that is something that I do not want to deprive my daughter of. So I thought that this would be a great experience for all of us to go as a family. We did go. Nathan did not feel comfortable, but more because he's used to Catholic churches. Nathan and I do not, he does not practice anything with me, but he is completely open to me cleansing the house, going around. He looks at me weird every once in a while because he thinks I'm a little bit of a Fruit Loop, but, you know, I'll go around with my shaker, and then I'll go around with my spray and my sage, and I'll do house cleansings. Whenever anyone's sick, I do specific things for that. But he's very much open-minded, and that's what's really important. So for me, I guess, inter-religious relationships, it's not a matter of being on a path that you don't, like being on two different paths. It's being on two different paths, but allowing the other person to have the experience that they choose to have spiritually. I think that that's very important. While I do think that it could be absolutely amazing to, if Nathan were on the same path as I, to be able to share that path and kind of join both paths into one. I think that that would be amazing. But I'm completely 100% cool with someone just at least being open-minded and allowing me to express myself spiritually the way that I need to. If Nathan and I were not together, say I were single, and I were on this path and at this exact place in my life that I am right now, spiritually, and I were to meet someone who could not respect my beliefs or at least accept them as part of who I am, or who could not, like if they would get weirded out and not want me practicing, and say we moved in together and they were like, no, you can't do that stuff in this house, I'd get out of that relationship, because probably the one thing that comes before anything else is my spirituality. I'm a firm believer that you need to take care of you before you take care of other people, because if you're not 100%, it's actually in my personal creed, if you are not 100% and 100% full of self-love, you are not able to give that to anyone else. So if I were having to deprive myself of this spiritual fulfillment in a relationship because somebody could not accept it or did not agree with it, that relationship would be no more. I wouldn't be able to be in a relationship where someone couldn't accept that. Do they need to practice with me? Does Nathan need to practice with me? Do I feel sad because he doesn't practice with me? Absolutely not. That's his choice, and I completely respect his choice. But the important thing is that I've chosen a partner who respects my choices as well and allows me to have those experiences, and I think that that's amazing. And the fact that we have a child together and we can come to some sort of decent understanding that we do want our daughter to be raised learning about all different faiths over all the world, or across all the world. The fact that I have a partner that I'm able to raise, we have a daughter and we're both able to see eye to eye on that, I think is absolutely phenomenal. Now, and if and when we ever get married, it will not be in a church. It's going to be outdoors in nature. Will not be in a Catholic church because I'm not Catholic, and there's shit you have to go through to make sure that if you're not Catholic, you can become Catholic and then have marriage in a Catholic church. That's not going to happen for me. It would probably actually be wed by one of my good friends who's actually an ordained minister through a Unitarian Universalist church. And I think that the fact that I have someone, like I probably take it for granted sometimes, but I do 100% totally appreciate the fact that I do have, my dog is barking, I'm sorry, that type of relationship where I'm able to grow and not censor myself and not, you know, last week we talked about coming out of the broom closet, and if I had to be in the broom closet and not be able to practice freely in my home, I mean, it's one thing about not being openly pagan in public, but it is quite another to not be able to be openly pagan at home. You know, your home is your safe haven and your sacred space, and if I were not able to celebrate my faith and my spirituality in my own sacred space, I would definitely be in a very different place. So I guess those of you who are in interreligious relationships, if you don't see eye to eye with your partner, but you love one another enough to stay together, I guess I would approach the topic in a way that, you know, you believe what you believe and I'll believe what I believe. And honestly, if you've been with someone for 15 years and you're head over heels for them and they happen to be Catholic and you are a witch and they don't want you practicing witchcraft in the house, do ritual outdoors. Like, I'm a firm believer in compromise. If it really makes them uncomfortable to have you doing and practicing in the home, I can see where they're coming from. I mean, if they don't understand, I can completely see where they're coming from. And rituals outdoors can oftentimes be even more powerful, but at the same time, I would approach your partner saying, you know, I will compromise with you on this, and I appreciate and understand where you're coming from, but at the same time, please appreciate and understand where I'm coming from, where maybe I don't do full-out ritual in the house, but I will do space cleansing every once in a while, you know, and ask them to compromise too. So, and if it's a brand new relationship and there's just really that friction right away between the two paths, whether it's, you know, someone who's on this path with someone who's atheist or someone who is of an Abrahamic religion, I would really question how dedicated you are to that relationship and how dedicated you are to your spirituality, and see if there's a way to reconcile both. And if there's not, really choosing, well, which one would I sacrifice a little bit on? Would I sacrifice on the relationship, or would I sacrifice on my spiritual practice? Would I still be able to be a free and loving human being and spiritual being if I'm not practicing openly? Or is it time to maybe part ways because there are too many important differences? It's sort of like when you're in a relationship with somebody and one person wants kids and the other one doesn't. At what point does the one just compromise to the point where they have nothing? They're not getting anything. Because kids, that's a win or lose situation. Nobody, if you have one person that's adamant about having children and one person that is adamant about not having children, and neither one is willing to compromise, because you can't really compromise, you can't have half a child, at what point is it just too much? And at what point are your dreams not going to be realized with this person? I've known several people who they've gotten out of long-term relationships because there came a point where one particular couple broke up because one really wanted marriage and the other one didn't, and neither of them were budging. And the other couple broke up because one wanted children and the other one didn't, and neither of them are budging. So there are big, when it comes to decisions like that, I think that spirituality really does rank up there with marriage and children. Is if you are, if you're as deep in your path as I am, are you willing to sacrifice that? And if you aren't, and if they're not, where do you go? You know, some people need to leave the relationship. But I am. I mean, if you can find someone that is at least open, they don't necessarily have to practice with you, but if they're at least open to what you do and they accept what you do and they allow you to do it freely, I think that's wonderful. And I hope that everyone is able to have that sort of support that I have with my partners. So I will talk to you all later. I love you, and blessed be.